Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 124 of Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. It's the 11th of March. It's a Friday. Yesterday, the 10th of March, Dawn of Ragnarök, the new expansion, DLC, extra story for Assassin's Creed Valhalla was released. And we're going to talk today, and Declan's going to give his first impressions. However, Declan, you have some secret news because you had early access, which is quite exciting.
It was annoying, but yes, exciting.
Early access surely is never annoying.
Oh, I got the early access, I was hyped, but I made a mistake on my end. There's a lot of tech wizardry around early access, and it's not as easy as people think. You don't just get codes and you're good to go. And I got the code, I put it in, but because I forgot to allow Ubisoft know that I am now on Xbox, they had to give my Xbox permission to play early access. So for the first day, I had no access to the DLC, which is why I did put the Twitter out saying really bad technical difficulties because the DLC was butkus. Broke, gone. I was unhappy, but it was fixed.
So let's think. So have you? When was it fixed? How long have you been playing? How far into the game do you think you are?
I got it fixed at 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, so I was only offline for a day.
Okay.
So I've been playing
Okay.
since Tuesday. I'm only on the first mission after the big Dawn of Ragnarök. Cutscene comes up,
Okay.
and I've hit a roadblock in the DLC already,
Right.
and it's quite
Um,
annoying.
Understood. So I'll just say, just for people listening, I haven't played the new story at all. Um, so it'll be probably more me asking Declan questions and then Declan describing what he thinks and what he's seen. Where do we start? So, how do we launch the new story?
So launching the new story is really easy and backwards at the same time. And I love I'm being very kind, but the reason is it starts just like any other DLC from Ireland or France. You load up the game, mission will pop up, and you go start the mission. So this time, if you go to Ravensthorpe, you will start the mission. You'll get a nice little cutscene, little quest pop up. You're good to go. Simple. Or, and I don't know why they didn't do it with Druids or Siege of Paris. If you go to New Game, you'll now get a new option saying New Game or Dawn of Ragnarök. And if you do that, it will boost you to 360. You'll skip main game and you're right into the DLC.
Okay, that was an option that we had in Origins and Odyssey, wasn't it? With their DLCs, where you could. I didn't do it because I played the main story and then started the DLCs. But yeah, you could sort of boost yourself up to level 45 or whatever it was in those games, and yeah, go and play the DLC as a standalone. So same thing here
Yeah.
with Dawn of Ragnarok. Okay. So which option did you choose? Presumably you've still got your save game where you've completed the story and you're ready to go. No?
Why are you asking me the hard questions?
Did
Like,
you boost and then go and start it?
alright, a little bit backstory. You remember when I sold my PlayStation 4?
Hang on a minute. There's already backstory to the backstory. All right, here we
Yeah.
go. Here we go.
So when I sold my PlayStation 4, I moved to Xbox. I relied heavily on Ubisoft's magical cloud cross progression save. It worked perfectly. No problem. However, I forgot about the cloud save autosave. Now that autosave was when I started the DLCs, both of them. But I hadn't completed both the DLCs or the last Hampshire arc. So prior to Christmas, when I booted the game up in hype for Dawn of Ragnarok, I loaded my autosave, losing all my completed progress for Siege of Paris and Wrath of the Druids. So now I'm playing the autosave, which is 360 power, so I'm golden for the power level. But I still have the Hampshire arc to complete, so I have not done the epilogue. I still have all the bosses to do in England to redo, all pretty much 80% of Ravages to redo, all of Siege of Paris to redo. I can't be bothered redoing it all.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, what are you looking at? 30 hours, maybe 40 hours to do the
it
two DLCs plus the rest of England that you've still got outstanding. So, yeah, I can understand that.
and if you put it in, and now the 40 hours seems a lot, but to show how more excruciating it is, I play about 3 hours a night, and that's about 3 days a week because I have 2 days where I do the podcast and stuff. Like the Friday, no, Friday, Saturday, I do podcast and stuff. Then there's a recording day, so that's 3 days already out a week. That leaves Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. You gotta imagine spending 3 hours between them games. These DLCs take months, not hours, it's months. And it's why it took me from launch of Valhalla to March of the next year to complete the main game.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And that wasn't me that wasn't me sidetracked. That was me just plowing through the story.
Mm.
And
Time
I
is
enjoyed it.
precious. I definitely am with you there. I have less time now for gaming than I did a year ago or 2 years ago, that's for sure. And I'm a bit more protective of my time. Although in the last couple of months, I've played a lot of smaller, shorter games, and it's been great. Um, there is a related reason why I haven't. Just to bring it briefly back to Dawn of Ragnarok, there is another sort of contributing factor as to why I haven't looked at buying it or playing it yet, and that is I started Horizon Forbidden West 5 or 6 days ago, and I'm in love, and I am taking my time, and I'm walking everywhere, and I'm exploring the world, and I could be playing this game for a couple of months. So I don't know when I'll be getting to Dawn of Ragnarok. I guess I'll play it at some point. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to rely on your wisdom and experience, Declan, to talk us through it. So you've used the boost. You've launched the new story. Let's think. Are you doing the Animus choice option? So are you heavy in this new mythical story, or are you playing as Eivor?
I had to choose Javi.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
reason I chose Javi is no disrespect to the characters because I love Ava. It's just my own mental involvement. Odin is Javi, and I just really want that vibe because, respectfully, in my opinion, Eivor is Eivor. She is a Viking. She is a fantastic. That's her story. But Odin is Odin. That's his story. So I like to mentally picture it that way. I understand probably better to play Harvey as Eivor because it is a dream, so she could be interpreting it her own way.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, I did the same as you. I always did let the Animus choose for my
Yeah,
playthrough of Valhalla. So yeah, I've always been heavy in the mythical realms. But what you just said there about it being a dream, that's interesting. If you wanted to sort of role play it and say Ava is dreaming, so she sees herself, why not?
it's common because the problem is the memories, yes, but the memories through someone else's life. She's not going to know the memories. So if she imagines Javi in Asgard, it's very common for her to imagine her as Javi, but the whole world will see her as Javi, but she'll see herself as herself. So either choice is actually canon, which is mind blowing.
Makes
And
sense. All right. So next question, which isn't we haven't even started the story yet, but I'm just trying to get the setting or the where the story fits. So I've there's a good guide on the Assassin's Creed subreddit written by one of the moderators, I think, yesterday, um, and he's documented all of the chapters, if you like, in the story and the individual quests, different weapons you can get. So it's a very good article just to go and read and understand the structure and the layout. What I'm interested in is where or when in the main game story does it make sense to launch Dawn of Ragnarok?
it would make sense if you've completed the Asgard and the Jotunheim
Okay.
arcs,
Yeah.
because technically it's not at the end of the Asgard and Jotunheim arcs. Um, it's before the ending, but it is after the binding of Fenrir because it talks about the binding of Fenrir. It talks about Loki's betrayal. Harvey's lost his eye. This is not spoiler stuff. This stuff you can see in the DLC
No,
if
this
you
is
know a
stuff.
bit
I mean,
about the
Valhalla's
show.
been out a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
So when you see the trailer, he's missing his eye patch. You know immediately this is after he's been to the well of Mjolnir and he's lost his eye to get the
yeah,
need.
yeah.
So it fits slap bang there, and it's just a nice little break between the Asgard and the Jotunheim acts and the final act, which is
Okay. So Asgard arc I remember is the builder, and we have the
yeah.
fight with the builder. Do we bind Fenrir in the Asgard chapter or the Jotunheim
I think
chapter?
it's Jotunheim because it's the very last pivotal point because he
Gotcha.
has to do all those. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time, but I think it is the final because the Jotunheim arc. He's looking for the mead, and then he goes back and then he fights Fenrir, and that's the end. You see the video when the Ragnarok and the DLC is complete. Well,
Right.
not the
So
DLC. The Jotunheim arc is complete.
yeah. Okay. So that was the other bit I wanted to check with you. So in England, in the historical section, we have these animus anomalies, these world events, where the animus glitches. We play as Layla, exploring parkour puzzles to reveal clips of a hidden truth video. And once we unveil the whole hidden truth video, we see Javi and his fellow Aesir uh, donating their blood, if you like, to hide it in the human babies that they're gestating. And then we see Ragnarok, the world on fire. Where does this news story fit with that video and the actual Toba catastrophe? I'm assuming it happens beforehand.
It happens beforehand. From what I can see from the cutscene, where I start the cutscene, the way the dialogue's working, it's it fits just before the very last end. So when you do the Jotunheim arc, you get that cutscene, them sitting on a tree, Javi's very skinny, and the whole world's about to burn. This DLC will fit just about there before you get that final cutscene in the Jotunheim arc, from what I've can understanding from the DLC so far. So far, it just seems that this DLC is just makes the Asgard arc longer. So now you would have to play, in my opinion, Asgard, Jotunheim, and then when you get the Fenrir mission to go bind Fenrir, don't do it. Go play Dawn of Ragnarok, and then do the binding of Fenrir, and it should fit, in my opinion. But I haven't completed the DLC, so I will update in a week on Twitter. So I do believe that when you get to the last mission of Jotunheim to bind Fenrir, stop, go play Dawn of Ragnarok, and then play it, and then it should make sense. But it's kind of weird how it's laid out.
That's really interesting. I hadn't heard it split out like that, but it'd be good to see. Like you said, let's see what you think in a few more hours when you finish the story and how it might all fit together. Okay, so you're playing as Javi. You've fallen asleep and you're having a dream about your events in, well, now which realm do we start in? Because see, I'm not a Norse myth person, as we've discussed many times on the show. So which realm are we in? Which realms do we visit? What races of beings do we visit?
So when you go to your first dream state, you kick straight into Svartalheim. That's it. You just jump straight into the Svartalheim. There is a lot of discourse about it because it's just you do dream and boom, you're straight into Svartalheim. There's no wean in. Now I know some people may be uncomfortable with that, like, oh look, it's time jump. Me, I don't see a problem in the time jump because I did watch the Assassin's Creed video about Javi's story. So I already had a mental picture that he's done everything and this is just another mission for him. So you just basically start in Svartalheim and you meet the Muspels and the Jotuns and there's dwarfs. And the dwarfs are awesome. Just not there.
Okay, so we've got Javi, who is an Aesir or a Norse Isu. We've got Jotuns or Jotnars, who are kind of the blue
Nice.
giants, but they are this is so confusing. Honestly, my brain is melting. They are the representations of the Greco-Roman Isu, like Minerva, Juno, who is Hurricane. Then we've got the Muspels. Now, are they the kind of lava, fire, monster creature things?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got ice creatures?
No.
No. But
No.
then we've got dwarves.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So are the dwarves? Here's my first question. When I was watching the cut, I haven't played the game as I said, but I have tried to watch the cutscenes. I haven't completed it. Um, are the dwarves supposed to represent another race of Isu, or are they supposed to represent humans?
um, from my understanding of everything, I think it's neither. And how it would work like is, from what I've seen discussed through the mental skill of people who've had early access, I believe the Mustheims represent the American Isu clan from that side, and as you said, the Jotuns are the Greco-Roman side. I believe everything that's happening with the dwarfs, because they're so close to Asia, I believe they're just part of this northern European tribe that is linked to the Asia. From my understanding, because the Jotuns are invaders, the Muspelheimers are invaders, but the dwarfs are local, same as Guardians. So I'm assuming they all exist as one big European area of Isu, but the Greco-Romans are the Jotuns and they're invading. The Muspels are also invading. That's my interpretation, but people have got to understand that there is no clear evidence of Isu law. And now, by that, the Isu have been gone for nearly thousands of years. Every Isu knowledge left will be watered down through human history, from people's tales, how people interpret things, Chinese whispers, people finding pieces of media and not understanding them. This DLC being confusing about the mythological built in Isu really drives home how the only people who can truly tell you what the Isu are like are the Isu themselves. Humans aren't reliable to tell you about the Isu.
Okay. Okay. Do we meet any other types of Isu or other creatures, whatever the right word is, in the story?
Um,
I'm hinting at elves. Do you want to talk about elves?
if I talk about elves, if I talk about elves, I know the whole community is just going to want to go on a witch hunt against me.
Why?
Because I have a theory about the elves that's not in the DLC. It's very hinted at and it's not common, but I found scientific evidence to prove that my theory is plausible.
Can I say what I think? I mean, from the cutscenes that I've watched, and again, we are going into spoilers here. If you haven't played Dawn of Ragnarok and you want a spoiler-free playthrough, stop this recording, go play, come back, and come back to our sort of closing episode that we might do in a week or two. We'll see how it goes. Okay, has everyone gone? Right.
So
The elves are hinted at that the elves are the ones who came before the ones who came before.
that is a theory hint, yes. It's not actually driven home in the DLC. The DLC really irritatingly skirts around saying this. And I have found scientific proof that the elves could be Isu before current Isu. I have
Right.
found scientific proof.
Hit me.
Hit you. Right. Okay, one. Dinosaurs. Do not laugh. Do not laugh. Right, listen closely.
I'm not laughing.
Right. So we know that so far we've discovered about 100, maybe less dinosaur fossils scientifically, meaning that there is billions of dinosaur fossils that are unfound. We know scientifically that the dinosaurs were wiped out by a cataclysmic event, but no one knows if it was a meteor or not, even though scientists do say it's a meteor. We also know that there's a few dead end evolutions of dinosaurs that could have evolved into Homo sapien reptiles. Now, let me continue my wild tangent before you look so confused at me. Now, it is plausible using all this evidence of real human science that we don't know so much that the Isu could have evolved. during the dinosaur time. At the very, very tail end of, I think it's the Cretaceous period where they die out. The very, very tail end, a very prehistoric and primitive version of the Isu could have formed. And they could have made very basic piece of Edens, very basic structures, and then the whole world just ended, which could have been another solar flare, which is hinted at in the um, Origins empirical truth.
Yeah,
Nodes
yeah,
of time keep repeating. Now we already know that we've had the first turbo catastrophe, which wiped them out. Then we had the 2012 solar flare, which was another continuation. It's going to happen again and again and again. So it seems that the sun's always on a cycle, which is scientifically possible. It's not fate. It is plausible that the sun does have solar flares, and the Earth.
yeah. There are solar activity cycles. Absolutely, periods of peak activity and periods of low activity. Yeah, yeah.
So, using all this science, it is possible that the elves could be a pre-Isu race, and when they wiped out, a few survived, as humans did, but as they evolved into Isu, they just lifted up where they carried on. They retook over the structures, they re-carried on, and they just tried to fix the Toby catastrophe again, which is why there'd be no evidence of them, because the Isu would have used all their technology and made it their own, which is what humans would do. If humans found a lost civilization right now, over time, then ruins would become a tourist place. It would become part of human history and would lose its touch. So it is possible that there is a race of Isu that came before the ones who came before, because Juno does mention in one of her transcripts from years ago that the year is 75k Isu era. So the Isu must have a calendar. So how long the and then the other thing why I say it's stupid that it skirts around it. No one can prove me wrong that the Isu just appeared out of thin air. They've got to have an origin. And
Whether they evolved or landed in a spaceship or whatever, yes, they must have evolved from something in the same way as humans evolved from
apes,
early forms of um, humans and from chimpanzees or whatever. Yeah.
which is why all this real human knowledge, and I know I should not be applying it to a game, really to me drives home that the elves are a precursor race, because it's scientifically impossible that these who just appeared out of thin air. Are you trying to say that after the Tobig test, the first extinction event that killed the dinosaurs, the Isu just popped into existence? Because we know it took years and years for mammals to evolve because the climate changed. So, what are we trying to say the Isu evolved from? Nothing. But no, wouldn't it be more logical to say that they evolved from something at the tail end of the Cretaceous, the elves? They were wiped out. The Isu maybe ignored their history till it was too late, and it's why they're now on this mad hunt to stop the solar flare, because it's happened once and it's a cycle that will keep repeating. And this was a wild tangent, I understand.
No, it's all good. So we're sort of laying the pieces for the expansion. Okay, so we've got dwarves, elves, Jotnars, and Muspels, and Aesir. Is that all the different pieces of the puzzle now assembled?
Yeah, pretty
All
much.
right, all right. So the story is broken into one, two, three, four, five sections. Although three are kind of multi-step story. So chapter 1 is Into the Fire. Chapter 2 is The Relic. Chapter 3 is Vessel of Souls. And then we've got a couple of closing stories as well. How far through those chapters have you been able to get?
Not far, I've hit a roadblock. A very bad roadblock that slightly put a sour taste in my mouth about the DLC, but I'm trying not to be critical because one thing I don't like, someone else is going to really love. So I am playing the balance that it's a good mechanic, but not for me. If that makes sense.
Okay, so you're not talking about a bug that's preventing your progression, and you're not talking about a story like you're not saying you can't beat a boss to move on. You're saying you've got a gameplay problem or a story
Yeah,
problem.
gameplay.
Okay, go on then.
So after you've done everything and the big Ubisoft original Dawn of Ragnarök title appears, you were given two basic missions. One is upgrade your Hugo Rip, which I can't wait to talk about that soon. And the second one is to go find the shelters. Finding shelters, easy, fun. One of the best parts of the DLC is going looking for the shelters. I'm stuck on upgrading the Hugo Rip because you've
Can I just very quickly say, throughout all the trailers we've had over the last few months, I thought it was Huga Grip,
oh
like
I,
the grip with your hand.
I
And
don't
it's
know.
only in the last 24 hours I've seen people writing about it on Twitter and on Discord. It's Huga Rip. So okay, yeah, fine, thank you.
I'm
Carry on.
dyslexic. I
No,
mean,
no, you're not wrong. It's me. I've been mishearing it for months. I thought it was Huga Grip because he kind of held it on his wrist and in his fist like he was gripping it. But no, no, it's Huga Rip. Okay.
I think it's because Hugo. I think Hugo's the life essence, the magic. If I'm
Oh,
remembering
so it
correctly.
rips the life force
Yeah,
out. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So tell me your problem with this new magical bracer. There's
you've
no
got to get.
magic in Assassin's Creed, though.
You've got to
I'm
get.
being I'm being snarky now.
I really don't like saying this because I know people are going to say I'm twining too much, but you've got to get 5 silica to upgrade it as your first mission, and some other elements like to make your ability stronger. The other elements are really easy to come by. You'll get them anywhere you go. Silica is locked behind river raids at this moment in time. You can only get them by doing river raids, and I don't
Sorry,
like it.
let me stop you there. Silica is only available through completing river raids.
As I understand, yes.
Oh, I just want to take a little sidebar here and just say that I really don't like river raids.
Neither do I.
They're
I've
so repetitive and frustrating. Well, that, I said earlier today I was having a conversation with someone, and I don't know if you get this, but every now and then, if I'm doing a really repetitive task, normally at work, it actually makes me feel a little bit nauseous. And river raids gave me that effect. And I've never even completed the first river. I tried really hard and I just gave up. I will never get the armor set or whatever rubbish it is you get from them. So the fact that you upgrade this through river raids is concerning. Let's put it like that.
now the only bonus I can give it is with the Hugo Rip, the abilities you have do make river raids kind of more enjoyable because you can switch up the mechanics. Literally, you don't not lock. Just the problem I have is the whole pretense that you can go to this location solo. You can wipe out the camp solo, but then you have to summon the river raid to get the silica. And it's just that's just a little issue for me. There's you have to do
Gotcha.
it, and
Gotcha.
it's the bonus is it's cost about 5 silica to upgrade one item. You can get about 6, 7 silica per river raid. So really, the balance is there. You've got the Hugo Rip to do some insane stuff to make it a bit more enjoyable, less repetitive. One raid's going to give you enough for an upgrade, so once you've got all the upgrades, you can ignore the river raid essentially. So there is a fair balance this time. That's the pros of it. The cons is I just don't like river raids. That's just it. I don't
Good to
like
know
them.
we're united there in our opinion on river raids.
It
Oh dear.
also river raids, in my opinion, feel against Avel's personality. The way she's come to England, she wants to set home, she wants to live there. She doesn't seem the type of woman to go raiding. For me, Ava seems more that she would trade for the pieces that she wants because she's
This
trying to
is
make a home in
yeah,
England.
yeah. This is one of the main. I guess this is the core issue I have, and I don't know. Damn it! See, we're recording this on Friday, the 11th of March, and 4 days ago, 3 days ago, Declan and I interviewed Darby McDevitt. Now, we don't know exactly when that episode will come out because we need to edit it. Ubisoft PR need to clear the final edit and then we'll publish it. Could be as soon as next week, but we don't know for certain. Probably should have asked Darby this question, where I'm going with my train of thought. For me, what you've described with river raids and Eivor is kind of the central problem of Valhalla, and that's you go on raids and you take all the treasure, but if you kill a civilian, you get threatened with desynchronization. So we're either playing a Viking raiding game and we slaughter everybody, or we're playing an Assassin's Creed game where we do get desynchronized if we kill civilians. And I just, like you say, there's that. The game neither commits fully to being a Viking raiding game, nor does it commit to being a sneaky, follow the creed, don't kill civilians, stay your blade from the flesh of the innocent assassin game. And yeah. Oh, tell you what, in a year's time, we'll invite Darby back on and we'll say, Mr. McDevitt, sir, can you explain to us, please, how did you deal with this fundamental break between these two halves of the game? Anyway, that's a topic for another day. So, where did we get to? I've got way off topic already.
We got to where I was stuck in the game.
Oh, right. So you have issues. You have
That's just
beef.
it. I just can't get past it. I'm doing the river raids, but they're just slow. That's it. That's why
Gotcha.
it's taking me a bit longer. And
Gotcha.
as I said, I play 3 hours a night. So you've got to think distance traveled, navigation. It takes a long time to try and get all the river raids to get this one mission done. That's just the. Other than that, I'm having a bloody blooming blast with this game.
Okay, so that's a good point. So let's talk about like the actual gameplay. What's the ranged combat, stealth combat, melee? What's new? What are you enjoying? What are you not enjoying?
Um, can I like phrase something that's going to get me pitchforked? This DLC is more assassiny than main game because of the mythical powers. Look, I know how you're feeling, but if you open your mind and
Listen, mate, I tell you, if that is your opinion, right, I completely respect you because I love it when people say you can't play stealth in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Really? I mean, I stealth cleared forts all the time, so I never really got that sentiment. Yes, there are not tools like smoke bombs or berserk darts. Absolutely true. But if you want to play stealth, you can. So, do you know what? If you think Dawn of Ragnarok is the stealthiest part of Valhalla, let's go with it.
I will be able to prove my point as well, and it is fantastic. And now, as it, you've got to open your mind. Don't think generically how an assassin works. Hidden blade, tools. Now imagine tools being magical ability. So, the first one is you can dress up as a Muspelheim. This is the insane social stealth ability. You dress up as a Muspelheim, you walk right through an enemy encampment, they will not bat an eyelid to you. It is the ultimate social stealth.
Now, it is a rule on the podcast that you mention myth every episode. It is also a rule of the podcast that I shoehorn in a Unity reference. Are you telling me this is like Arno's disguise skill?
Yes.
Happy days.
It,
Right, let's
it,
go.
and it allows it's so diverse. You can walk through lava and you won't get damage from it. Really good. You can fight with the Muspelheim power active, so I mean you can drag them into a lava pit and you won't get damaged. So really good range.
So it's not like you've got to stay low profile or
No,
avoid. Okay, so
you can fight and it was really good. Because when the Muspelheim throw fire bombs, you want that suit on so you're not getting fire damage. And if you can't be bothered fighting, just walk through the camp. And it is so satisfying as Harvey to walk up to a Muspelheim who stares you right in your eyes and you just assassinate them. Granted, you lose your disguise, but who cares? You've walked past 20 Muspelheim giants and assassinated a dude in front of them. They didn't know. That's Assassin's Creed stealth.
it runs from the Hooga you've gathered using the
Yeah,
Hooga rip. Okay, so when you run out, I guess it's like an adrenaline bar. When it
yeah.
runs out, the disguise drops. Okay, okay,
But it also runs out if you stab someone, but that's
gotcha.
understandable. There's also a teleportation ability,
Okay.
which from what I've seen, you can assassinate people with it. So you can like take the rush assassination from Odyssey. It looks fun. And
Rush Assassin. Do you know, I actually didn't use. I used Rush Assassinate a few times when I unlocked it, and then I stopped because I just thought it was so ridiculous. And I don't mind a little bit. You know, I love Odyssey, and Odyssey certainly pushes the boundaries of magicalness. But even for me, Rush Assassination was a little bit over the top, so
I
I
al-
never used it.
I
But you're
used it too
saying
many
this is just
times.
like that.
I used it too many times. Literally, I would clear out an entire account with just rush assassination. But
It was
this is
good
the
fun.
thing: people, in my opinion, need to understand that Assassin's Creed abilities aren't just black and white. They're not just hidden blade or something like that. There can be a little bit more nuance. Because something has magic in the myth element, doesn't mean they can't incorporate Assassin's Creed mechanics. The Muspelheim and the Jotunheim disguise is social stealth at its core. You walk through an encampment, you can stab someone. That's hiding in plain sight. That is a core pillar of Assassin's Creed. You can turn into a raven, which is really fun for Traverse, and assassinate someone as a raven. That's just an OP air assassinate, really. But it's also stealthily because no one sees you. They're like, oh, look, a pretty bird. Oh, crap, I'm dead. It's
It's
just,
making me think now of the game that I'm playing right now, Horizon Forbidden West. You've got the shield wing, which lets you glide from high hills. You can assassinate from the shield wing. You can do an air assassination in Horizon. You know, so it's kind of feeling very much like that, which is great.
it, why the more I play it, the more I start to realize that Assassin's Creed abilities are not black and white. They're not just this is. I think they can be fluid. Myth has that realm to create the same core pillars of stealth, assassination, of a sneaky assassin, but with a more over the top flair. And if it works in the Myth arc, why should we disregard it as non Assassin's Creed? Because it's the same social stealth as Arno put on disguise. It's you flying 100 meters over somebody and air assassinating them, no different to you running across a rooftop and air assassinating. I'm just trying, in my opinion, to realize that some of the abilities are what I would use in old games, just more OP and flashy, and I'm okay with that. I air assassinate people, I'm down for that. And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just fun.
Maybe that's the main thing. So the gameplay you would say is fun. What's the new weapon like that big kind of double-handed pole axe thing?
It is amazing. I hate double-handed weapons because they're slow, they're
Right.
not fun.
You've just said exactly the word I was worried about. And let me go back a step to Siege of Paris. So Siege of Paris, one of the big things was there was a new weapon type, which was the scythe. And you can dual wield scythes and all that rubbish. But they were so slow to use and they didn't deal much damage. It wasn't like if you think back to Odyssey, I don't know Origins combat so well, but if you think back to Odyssey with the heavy bloods and the heavy bladed weapons, they were slow. But when you hit someone, they did a huge amount of damage, so it balanced out, the combat. Um, you come to the sides that we got with Siege of Paris. They didn't do a lot of damage. They were really bloody slow, and they just weren't, for me anyway, they weren't fun to use. So yeah, let's compare with the new. Is it called the 8 gear weapon? I think. So
Yeah.
compare that for me then. What's the speed like? What's the damage? Is it fun? Are there nice animations? Good.
So I think the best thing I should forewarn people, um, it is a single weapon only, and by that means you'll never find copies of it. You get it as a reward for a certain point in the story, but you'll never find this weapon again. So you won't find like different variants of it that I'm aware of because I haven't. But it's as fast as a sword. Insanely, it's so speedy. It hits so hard. It's just like someone took the strength of a battle axe and made it have a child with the speed of a sword, and I love it. I've been using it so much. Its battle animations for the light and the heavy combo is so fun. It's just spinny, it's hitty, it's just. I have given up on swords. Swords and CXs were my go-to weapon since the start of the game. I now only use this one pole arm because it's insane. It's too fun. It's bugged, but it's insane. And
So we can
yes,
say then that combat of the two, well, so two types we've discussed, so stealth and melee, you're enjoying a lot.
yes.
Is there
Love.
range? Is there new ranged combat options?
I haven't discovered them, but I'm not going to say there
Okay,
isn't. I haven't
okay.
discovered them yet. There is that huge skill tree that I literally hate the living daylights out of. I literally go in there and click fate just to power me up because I hate reading it all.
Yeah,
So I think there might be
yeah,
passive range abilities there, but from what I experienced, I don't know just yet. But nothing a good bow and arrow can't fix.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. What else can you tell us about the story? Who have you met? What characters from Norse mythology have been brought to life in the game?
Okay, I have a personal issue with the story.
Tell us the characters you've met first, and then we'll delve into your issues.
I
We'll
have
put you
met
on the sofa.
I met Sutra.
Oh, the
Sutra,
big dude with the
yeah.
lava beard and whatever. Okay, yep.
Whoever the voice actor they've got for him is just amazing. He suits it so perfect. I love him. He's so cool. I hate him, but I like him at the same time. It's weird. You met Frigga, which I'm not going to say much more about, but she is badass, as you see in the trailers.
Frigg is Javi's wife.
Mrs. If
Uh, oh, I see.
if I'm allowed to spoil some dialogue, it's just from the very first
Yeah, yeah,
intro. It's nothing
yeah.
like groundbreaking. When they're talking about Balder, she mentions that, while I was bringing him up, nursing him on my breast, you were warm in the bed of your wife. So it's like he had a child with her, but while she was, so she holds deep resentment to him. She's like, I'm there nursing him, growing him, and you're off in bed with your missus, and I've got a child. And then he's
So
snarky back.
this is someone else that doesn't like Javi. Gotcha,
Yeah, but
gotcha.
he's snarky back. He's like, well, hang on a minute. Don't have a go at me. You dumped the child on me when the call of adventure was too great for you. So there is actually a really solid back and forward, and it doesn't feel out of place. It feels so gelled, even though it's the first time you meet the character. And if you play the DLC for the first time, try this because it's hilarious. When she's taking you to the objective, you got to follow her. Run away from her. Just run away because she'll stop doing a quest dialogue and she'll talk to him and say, "Oh, your attention span is as dumb as your battle wit," or something similar. So when you run back, she's like, "Anyways, as I was saying," and then goes back on the quest, and it is freaking hilarious just to hear that.
Love it. Okay, so we've got Frigg, Surtur. Who else have you met so far?
Dwarfs.
And what? Okay, right.
I am not
Understood.
spoiling the names of dwarfs because you've dwarfs. I'm not touching them. You've got to see them to understand them. They're brilliant. The characters are hilarious. I love each and every one of them, and they all feel different. That's the best thing. They all feel like they've got their own personalities, which I like.
All right, very good. So, what do you think to the dialogue? Is it entertaining then?
I love the story. It's very. I think the best way to put it is it's darker than most of the content we've had of Assassin's Creed. Imagine the origin scene where you fail to save the little girl and she
Shadia.
drowns. Yeah,
Oof, too
yeah.
soon, mate.
Too soon. I'm still reeling from that, and Phoebe. I can't go there. That is the
I can
level
still
of
hear Bayek's voice as he says
no.
Shadia, Shadia. Oh,
That
jeez.
is the level of darkness and grittiness they've gone with this DLC, and I can't say why, but you'll understand this when you first do the intro before you even get to Dawn of Ragnarok. You will understand why it's gritty, and it fits the tone really well. It feels
All right.
more light, more darker than Asgard and Jotunheim, and it works really well.
Okay. So, do you want to call out any other positive points about the new expansion?
Oh, I have tons of positive points. The world is vibrant and amazing to explore. Dialogue is great, story is great, combat is great, everything is great. There's also a great accessibility buff in there as well for everyone.
Okay.
Um, if you have divine armor, 5 sets of it. Right above where your helmet is, there's something called Divine's Landing. which is basically a buff that says while you're in Svartalheim with 5 divine armor, you do not get any fall damage. Now, this is where I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla does better than Odyssey on this point. And no diss, but you can turn it off. So you can pause the buff or not. So if you're one of these people that's like, I find no fall damage overrated, you can turn it off. If you don't care and want to yeet yourself on the highest monument you possibly can and glide to the ground with the grace of an angel, you can do it as well. And that is one of the nicest accessibility options in the DLC because it caters to both players. Me, I'm yeeting myself off cliffs all the time because I forget which direction I've got to leap of faith. I've been doing that for 15 years. I'm not stopping. I can never leap of faith in the right direction. So, Divine Landing saves my bacon all the time.
Very good. All right. And do you have any negative points?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So again, I want to just reiterate to if Ubisoft are listening, you have done a cracking job DLC. It is phenomenal. It is out of the DLC, it's my favourite over Wrath of Druids. It's perfect. The issue is there's just a few narrative directions that they should have gone instead of gone where they've gone. That's just personal taste. And the biggest one is Sutra himself. He should not be the main villain. And the reason why is in the Jotunheim Acts is that note, as you found, that mentions the three children, Hell, 7. In Norse myth, it's Hel who's keeping Balder captive, and she refuses to let Balder go back to the Aesir until every creature in the Nine Realms weeps for Balder, and it is Loki disguised as a woman who refuses to weep for Balder, and this causes all the other Aesir to basically attack Loki, imprison him, force his son to kill his other son in front of his eyes, and
Why? Hang on a minute. Why didn't they go for that? I mean, first of all, it would be retelling the actual myth, but doesn't that reinforce the base game story of how much of a prick Javi has been to Loki, and therefore justify Loki's motivations? Or am I
that's
missing something?
but that's where I'm a bit nah, because I read Norse myth before I played Valhalla, and I respect that in Asgard they did the builder story, but they changed it a lot to fit in with Valhalla's themes and everything, and it worked. The core element of the base of the builder was there, but it was in their own interpretation that it felt new. Same with the Binding of Fenrir. But the story of Balder being captive is completely different. It's non-existent to what's in the DLC, and that hurts me a little because I like the myth. Just to give you a speed example of the full Boulder story, so everyone knows where I'm coming from. Boulder is basically, his freak's worried about him, so she goes around and asks everyone to don't hurt my child. But she's an idiot and she forgets to ask Mistletoe not to harm a child. She forgets. She just doesn't care because he's tiny. Loki knows this, so in a great big party, everyone's like, "Yay, Balder can't be hurt." Loki gives his blind brother a dart dipped in mistletoe, and he throws it at Balder because everyone's trying to kill Balder just to prove that he's unkillable, and that kills Balder. Loki basically forces his own brother to kill his own brother, and then it's Loki's daughter who says he can have your son back if everybody weeps for him. Again, Loki doesn't. So Loki is then imprisoned before Ragnarok. His son is forced to kill his son. His Norse wife has to wipe poison from his brow from a bowl that's above Loki's head. And then when Ragnarok comes, Loki is finally free and he takes his children into war. That's the story. Now, when you watch the truth video, and I haven't completed the DLC, so things may change, you can clearly see that Harvey says, "Don't let Loki involved." And as they all walk out, guards come in to kill Loki. In my opinion, the DLC should have gone with Hel refusing to let Loki's Balder go, and it was Loki in conjunction with this. And Sutra should just have been the Toby catastrophe, just personified because, as I've reiterated loads, the final dialogue of the Ragnarok is Sutra will raise his flaming swords to the heavens and cleanse the nine realms in fire. That's a turbo catastrophe. Making that an Isu kind of great, kind of upsets me a little bit. But the story, but it's hard because even though I have this negative impact because of the myth, the story they're weaving is really good at the same time. So you're left with this amazing retelling of not of an iconic Norse myth in Uso's own story, and it's good. But at the same time, it could have been better if they went with these dialogue choices, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's. I mean, you know this stuff a lot better than I do, so you're way better qualified to judge if the stories in the game are following the stories, because that's the thing we've got to keep in mind about all of the two mythical arcs and then this new expansion. They are supposed to be Eivor's repressed memories from her past life as Havi, viewed through the mythical veil, viewed through her own religious understanding of the world. So you, if the Norse myths are truly what humans recorded as their religion based on kind of ancestral memory, then it feels to me like the story of Dawn of Ragnarok. If we're rescuing Balder, then it should have followed the myths, the documented Norse myth story rather than a new one. But so be it. Do you know what? It's an expansion. Let's have some fun. Does it matter? Probably not.
I think, in my opinion, it doesn't matter no, because the story that Ubisoft do tell is actually phenomenally good. That's the problem. Like, that is the biggest problem. The story is so good, you don't want to knock it because it's ignoring the myth. And that is a problem for me. But we know that from the Animus Anomalies, Loki does kill Balder, and Loki's got a hand in it. But so far, I haven't seen a hide or hair of Loki in the DLC. So it's like,
So you're
eh,
about one third the way through, maybe.
yeah.
There's
So
plenty of time for
yeah,
him to appear. When do you think when do you think you'll finish? Another couple of weeks?
probably that. Yeah,
Okay, and then we will definitely come back and do like a full. We've already, bearing in mind you're only part way through. We've already talked quite a lot about sort of first impressions, but we will definitely come back in a few weeks' time and do a full deep dive or full review or something, won't we? But yeah, no, so no Loki yet, just Javi, Frigg.
there is also one thing that's slight spot that does grammar case with the DLC as well. I have to mention because I can't bite my tongue. At the very start, Odin's very up his own arse about nothing can harm Balder. And then when you go to a certain location, there's two items you can interact. If you interact with the mistletoe first, he's like, so they found out how to harm my son. And you're like, but I thought you said nothing in the nine realms can harm your child. And now you're saying they found something that can harm my child. It's like, one, how do you know it harms your child? And two, eh? Like, what, Abby? But if you find the other item first, that progresses the quest line, because that's the item that progresses it, he never goes to the mistletoe. And that's if you get the first item first, it speeds it along to the next part, so you don't have to interact with it, so you'll never say them lines. So it's like, and
Interesting.
I only know this because I've done the intro twice now just to get two details, and it was just a bit, huh, Harvey? Harvey. You've been on them shrooms too, Harvey. Come on, Harvey. Naughty Harvey. Off the shrooms.
Ah, very good, very good. So
You
what
know,
else can you tell us? What other impressions have you formed?
just go play the DLC. It's fun. Literally, it is what DLC says on the tin. And I may have the wrong impression of DLC, but in my opinion, DLC should not be treated as a main game. Like, it's got to push on the modern day. It's got to do this. In my opinion, if they want to be a bit sidestep it and do a little more spin-off style, it's a DLC. I've seen DLCs for other games that do spin-offs of the first main game. Like best example would be Assassin's Creed 3's Tyranny of the King Washington. They're DLC, but they have zero effect on the game. They're just wishy-washy. So
It's a great. We've discussed this a lot recently, haven't we? What should DLCs do? Should they advance the story? Should they be side stories that have no impact?
all
It's another question we should have asked Darby.
in my opinion, it's impossible with Valhalla, and I will defend this on my hill, to do anything for modern day because
Mm,
Sean and Rebecca went off to find William, so Harvey's on his own. If they didn't, then in my opinion, modern day doesn't have to be a story. It could just be dialogue between them. It could have just been simple like, look, Rebecca, you work on your baby all the time, but I am an Isu. I do this for a living. Sit down, I will tinker with your animus, and them two could have a bicker about it, like, get off the hands of my animus. It's simple, has no effect on the law, but it's a good modern day interaction. So that can happen. Even in fact, I'm wanting an argument between Sean and the Isu over historical accuracy because I thought it'd be hilarious just bass him like, "What have I missed?" And he's like, "Well, you're an idiot. You've slept through this, 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 and this." And have it, bass him be like, "Nah, I don't care because my time was better." So you can have a modern day interaction, and it's something me and White Wolf Whispers discussed that doesn't drive the narrative forward. You've just got to be creative.
that's
But
true.
Valhalla
That's really
screwed it.
true. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts to share?
I'm trying to think. I'm just literally trying not to gush over the DLC because it is fun. And even though I have issues with the myth, not following the
Yeah,
myth in it is a ton of fun. It's just hilarious. That's just the DLC is fun. Probably not worth the £40 price tag because
that was something I was going to ask because it was suggested by Ubisoft in the lead up to the release that it was going to be the most ambitious expansion ever. 35 to 40 hours of content, which if true is huge. I mean, Origin's main story can take you about 30 hours. You can do it quicker if you really rush it, but that's a big chunk of content. And what I've seen on Twitter, on Discord, on Reddit over the last couple of days is you can do the main story in about 7 hours.
yes, now this is a common mispractice in gaming. The 30-hour file mark is true. That's the whole point. It's true, but we're not looking at it properly. And I called to light Dying Light 2. Now, with Dying Light 2 press said there's 500 hours worth of content. And everyone was like, oh my god, campaign is 500 hours. They had to then reiterate and go, no, the campaign is 80 hours. But if you want to do everything 100%, it's 500 hours.
Right.
So,
So we're talking collectibles here, aren't we?
yes,
Okay.
that's a problem. It is a common practice in marketing to say my game is 400 hours long, but it doesn't reflect the campaign. No company is ever going to market how long a campaign takes because of speedrunners. And why that is if they say to you, pay £50 for my game and it will have a 10-hour story and 40 hours worth of side quests that are going to drive the lore home and do some insane narrative, someone's going to be like, 10 hours, well, I can speedrun it in 5. Why do I need to buy this game? But if they say to you, hey, £50 for a 50-hour game, you're like, wow, that's a lot of game. And you don't bother tracking the campaign because you're looking at that 50-hour mark. And that is the problem with just marketing. It's not, I'm not trying to like say Ubisoft is best at it, but in this point, I am going to defend Ubisoft's marks of 35 hours. It's not their fault for pre-marketing at 35 hours. It's just common marketing for every game. There is 35 hours of content there, but it's not the campaign length. And
Gotcha.
that's not Ubisoft being bad, that's just gaming. Welcome
Mm,
to the world of gaming.
yeah. Do you think, I don't know if it's $40 at maybe about 35, £32 feels a bit much for me.
My issue with the price tag,
Um,
my issue with the price tag isn't the money. The issue is its second year.
yes.
Assassin's Creed shouldn't be going below a second year, in my opinion. The issue is post launch is just you've got to keep giving people a reason to come back. And DLCs have to then compete with big games. We've got Elden Ring, we've got Horizon. Deathloop is coming to Xbox sometime this year as well because it was PlayStation exclusive. People love that game. There's Game Pass, which has just got Guardians of the Galaxy on it, so a lot of people
Mm,
will be there.
mm,
Assassin's Creed has got to realize that its DLCs are going to be competing in a market that is dominated by brand new games.
yeah.
Year one is perfect time because people will chip away at these things during the year. If you had Dawn of Ragnarok at the end of Christmas and that was it, there was no more content to the next game, that would have wrapped up a perfect year for Ubisoft. If
Mm,
that season one, if that year,
mm.
that season pass for year one had Druid, Paris, and Ragnarok into it, it would sold more than what it sold now because
It's a strange one, isn't it? To have this one. See, we speculated, didn't we, on the podcast quite a few times over the last 3 or 4 months. Will there be a second year, a year two seasons pass with two DLCs, free events, free content? We discussed, didn't we, whether we might get DLC one, no, DLC three, Dawn of Ragnarok, another DLC, and maybe Assassin's Creed One remastered for the price of about $40 or something. Um, and I think obviously it depends on the content of the seasons pass and the content of whether there is a remaster for whatever game. Um, but right now there isn't. It's just this one-off expansion, and the roadmap that was published by Ubisoft last month was pretty thin. It was just this expansion, and that's it. I mean, I guess we've got some more tombs to come. Will there be repeat of the seasons festivals? I don't know. Maybe more river raids, but yeah, it's is this the last content of Valhalla? Maybe
from what I've
it's a strange
seen,
one.
discussed in Mental Guild, we've still got the Master Challenge story to finish.
Ugh.
Now, the problem is the campaign ended on a piece of eating cliffhanger. That's the problem. There was a piece
Right.
of eating cliffhanger. They need to finish it. They could do it this year for free, and they're gonna.
Mm,
I think there's a
mm.
story attached to the Tombs of the Fallen, which I haven't had time to do any of
I
them.
think there is. Yeah, I think
They
there
could
is.
also do that. So they're the last two big things to come, but people have got to understand as well now that don't I'm not trying to be harsh on Ubisoft. I'm just going off what I've seen since Origins. You have a stellar year one, but then it winds down. Look at Odyssey. Great roadmap. It was one of the best I've seen. But year two, it slowed down. You still
I
had
mean,
the
year two.
bounties.
Let's think. I think the last thing to launch for Odyssey was Discovery Tour, which was just about a year after, or 11 months after release. Then that was it. Well, then we got the crossover 2 years after that, but that was totally unexpected. But yeah, Odyssey was very clear. Release 1 year of post-launch content. There was a couple of patches, 13 or 14 months after release. I think there was some new gear that was added. There was the Ezio set. Then they added the Northern Travelers set to celebrate Valhalla. But yeah, main content was all done after about 11, 12 months. Maybe
Uh,
that's enough. Maybe there's no need to stretch it out to a second year. Or if you're going to stretch it out to a second year and you're going to ask a hefty price tag, give people something that they want to do over that year, like a second expansion or more interesting side content or whatever. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Hey, we're only in March. It's a long year ahead of us.
the one thing I would suggest for Ubisoft, if they want to continue going on, is it's the most simplest thing you could do, and it'll cost you next to nothing to do it if you do it properly. Is every month have a free, maybe a 5 hour story every month, or every 2 months do give us a free 10-hour story, and in that story is just an epilogue that you were involved on of a new story for Ava. but she ages. And now you got to think of, imagine this: you complete the Valhalla and you've got all these paid DLCs and you don't want to do them, but 2 months later you get a 10-hour story and she's investigating some new Templars that have come aboard. So you do that story and you start to see the effects of the last mission taking toll. And then 2 months later you get another 10-hour story and you do that, and again you see things changing. And 2 months later, by the time end of year two, you've got like a 60-hour story there spread out, and people are going to keep coming back because they're invested. You don't need to add more maps. You don't need to add more collectibles. You really don't need to do anything. You could reuse the assets you've got to make an epilogue story, and it'd be cheap because it would just be the voice acting and the animations. And
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
do it, in my opinion, and people would be interested. I would. I would love to for a whole year to follow Abel's journey after Valhalla. I would play for a whole year to see her age and the decisions of the clan. And granted, you could even have a 10-hour story of her just trying to rebuild the clan after Sigurd steps down. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not interested. But it builds Abel's story and why she moves to Vinland. So it's cheaper to do that. Just give us an epilogue. I'll play it. I'm addicted by that. I'll play it. I don't know how to make the bot leave. So yes, as I alluded that I am using a bot, everything broke tonight. So if this
we have had some technical troubles, haven't we, trying to actually record the audio for tonight's show? So yeah, let's hope that we sound all right.
everything broke, but I can fix it because I'm a genius. So I hope everyone's enjoyed this, and I hope people do enjoy Dawn of Ragnarok. I would advise giving it a go. It's not a bad expansion. It's got a great story, and it's hell of fun just to use some OP abilities. And I will never get over being able to dress up as Muspelheim and just walk through a camp when you can't be bothered to do combat. Just walk on home. No one cares. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and any screenshots. Actually, would be quite nice. On Twitter at AC Let's Talk or James at James Quid. You can also email us your thoughts at assassinscreed at gmail.com. And hopefully we'll see you all next week with our Derby special. Exciting.
It certainly is. See you all soon. Bye bye.
Bye, people.